Released in January 2023, with 6 other titles under its belt and a beloved place in the hearts of many, Dead Space was pretty much assured to sell to its already well-established fan base. But what about those who weren't already on board? Originally released in 2008, players around the world have had about 15 years to experience the horrors awaiting them. Surely nobody missed that opportunity, right? Well, embarrassingly, I am one of those people. But is that a particularly bad thing? How does Dead Space rate if you are not someone simply looking to relive a decade-old experience? And without that experience naturally inclining you toward the product, how does it stand on its own? Follow along for the next few minutes as we take a brief look at the Dead Space remake without comparison or reference to the original title, and I try to help you decide for yourself. Is the Dead Space remake worthwhile for new players? In the new Dead Space, you assume the identity of Isaac Clarke, an engineer aboard the Kellion, a small ship responding to a distress call made by a mining vessel, the USG Ishimura. Isaac volunteers to take part in this mission as his girlfriend Dr. Nicole Brennan is stationed on the Ishimura. Upon approach, it's clear that all is not right with the ship and you make a very not-so-smooth landing. The game wastes no time throwing the first of the horrors at you in the form of necromorphs, the proper name for the life forms you battle throughout the Ishimura. By the end of the first chapter, you suspect that these necromorphs are actually former crew of the Ishimura, and the basic focus of the storyline develops as Isaac and his crewmates, computer specialist Kendra Daniels, security officer Zach Hammond, and security personnels Aiden Chen and Haley Johnston attempt to find any survivors and make their way off of the Ishimura, all while uncovering exactly what caused the events to occur, questioning motives of the supporting characters, and trying to unravel the involvement of the mysterious Church of Unitology, a cult-like entity, and its adherents in the goings-on aboard the ship. Dead Space's audio and visual design is the easiest part of the game to review. In short, they are immaculate. The game not only delivers an impeccably immersive, atmospheric experience through its use of light and dark and a haunting soundtrack, but large portions of the game involve the changing conditions of this environment, often through Isaac's actions, such as requiring you to divert power from the lights to other functions and morphing a sufficiently lit department into a blackened nightmare. These changes also extend to the audio, which in my opinion, though far less frequent in titles, is far more impactful. The player will find themselves needing to shut off life support systems and create oxygen-deprived atmospheres, and from time to time, needing to enter the vacuum of space. From Isaac's breathing to the sounds of your gunshots, the auditory changes to the game perfectly convey the emptiness around you. Unfortunately, I don't believe the environmental design is really up to par. That's not to say the levels are bad, they are very well put together, and you do truly feel like you're navigating around the complex maze of a futuristic planet-cracking mining ship, but they just often feel generic and undistinguishable. Certainly some areas, like the morgue and the engine room, are well put together, but significant events occur here. That's to be expected. Other locations, like the maintenance department, the mining administration, the water purification plant, they all felt generic. Dead Space's actual gameplay is a mixed bag. While its story is well written and its visual and audio design carry the title, I can't help but recognize a few flaws in the gameplay, namely repetition. Dead Space's approach to executing on its jump scares is not just limited, it's practically a one-trick pony. Necromorphs burst through walls, they burst through ceilings, and then they do it again, and again, and again. Eventually, the unexpected becomes expected and the effect is diminished. Now, I myself am particularly susceptible to jump scares, so a developer going back to the same well so often has less of an impact on me personally, but it's very likely that many of you will catch on to this trick in the first couple chapters, and it will have a very diminished impact in comparison to other titles which manage to find ways to keep the jump scares fresh. Oh, and remember when I said you have to sometimes divert power? You do that a lot. I mean a lot. A lot. Engaging the enemies feels terrifying. And that's exactly how it should feel. Often, you'll find yourself ambushed in close quarters, and as the game rapidly points out, these aren't your stereotypical zombies, and headshots are not the way to go. Dismembering them by removing limbs is the key to victory. Enemies that start to appear in mid-game have their own weaknesses, and this is a welcome change from the typical aim for the head strategy that suffices in most horror games. The weapons you use to do this are unique, and this is a very welcome touch, but I feel they are underutilized. While they do have a very distinct look and feel, most often the choice between which weapon to use feels largely preferential. Perhaps I have been missing something, but in the 8 or so hours that I've played, I have yet to identify many times where there would be a reason to prefer any particular weapon over another in a given scenario. For me, this has generally came down to what do I have equipped when ambushed and what ammunition do I have most available. One final note. The controls are a bit clunky. If you don't have a controller to use, or just prefer to avoid them, this is likely to be distracting. Is Dead Space going to be worth it to you? For me, Dead Space often feels like a very pretty package, cleverly wrapped around a mediocre present. Visual and audio flair, hiding repetitive alien mashing through largely bland environments. The story does provide a marvelous backdrop for this experience, so if you're in the market primarily for a narrative that is also pleasing to the eye and ear, Dead Space is very likely to be exactly what you're after. However, if you're hoping for complex and interesting gameplay beyond simply don't aim for the head, there are tons of titles likely to provide you much more bang for your buck. If you enjoyed this video review, please like the video and feel free to check out my Dead Space playthrough. And go ahead and drop a comment down below so I can know what you do or don't agree with, and I can strive to make better videos for you in the future. Thank you for watching.